Where do you currently live?
I currently live in Lone Star. I've lived there all my life.
I want to talk to you specifically about October the 2nd of 2014, the early morning hours, but I want to backtrack a little bit. Tell us what you were doing the night of October the 1st.
On October 1st, a bunch of my friends were in town, so we all went out together.
And what did you do while you were out?
We went to a few different bars downtown in Lone Star.
How'd you get there?
I took a cab there, and then we walked from bar to bar, maybe a block or two at most, and then I took a cab home.
Once you were done hanging out with your friends, where'd you go?
I went home. I took a cab, went home, put my jammies on, got ready for bed, but I was really, really hungry, so I couldn't sleep.
So what'd you do?
I went to look in the cabinet, looked in the fridge. I had nothing. I travel a good bit, so I don't keep a lot of groceries at home. Typically, things spoil. It's waste of money. But I was starving, so I decided to go to the 7-Eleven and get some microwave burritos.
Approximately what time of the morning was this?
This was sometime between 1 and 2 a.m.
How'd you get to the 7-Eleven?
Well, at this point, I decided to take my car.
Once you were at the 7-Eleven, tell us what happened.
Well, at the 7-Eleven, I pulled up, parked. I don't really remember exactly where I parked, but got out, went inside, thought about getting some chips, got a little distracted by all the different things. There are a lot of people in there too, so trying to find the bean burritos, and at some point someone knocked over a bottle of tea, and that turned into an ordeal.
Well, tell us a little bit about this ordeal. What happened?
Well, I'm just, walking around trying to get to my bean burritos, and a bottle of tea, maybe Snapple, I don't know, it gets spilled on the floor. It makes a bit of a mess. Not too bad. And this guy, some random guy with a neck tattoo and a buddy or whatever, starts kind of like getting in my business about it. He's like, "Hey man, you knocked that tea over. You need to clean it up."
Now, Pete, did you knock the bottle of tea over?
No, I don't know how it got knocked over. I just, heard it fall and then saw the mess.
Do you know who this guy is, the guy that was talking to you with the neck tattoo? Do you know who that is now?
Yes. At the time, I didn't know him, but it's William James.
Well, after Mr. James came and told you to pick up the tea, what was your response?
Well, I told him I didn't knock it over. It's not my job to clean up someone else's mess, and he didn't like that. He got a little huffy and puffy.
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation as to he didn't like that.
Any response?
None, Your Honor.
I'll overrule that. It's personal perception.
Pete, tell us, size-wise, what did Mr. James, how did his size compare to your size?
He was a little shorter than me, but not by much. But he was definitely way more muscular. I'm just a scrawny little guy as far as muscle goes. So he was kind of this jacked-looking dude with the neck tattoo. Scary.
What about the friend that was with him, or the person that was with him? How did his size compare to yours?
JT Sanborn was a pretty big dude.
And did you have any friends or buddies with you?
No, I didn't. I was all alone at this point.
So after Mr. James confronted you about the tea, what did you do, or where did you go?
Well, I told him I wasn't cleaning up. He obviously didn't like that, and so I was just like, he's kind of a big guy. He's making me a little nervous. He's got a friend. I'm just gonna leave. I'm gonna leave, let it be, and go home. Didn't even get my microwave burritos.
Where'd you go?
I got to my car, buckled up, turned the car on, and I was backing out. And as I was backing out, I noticed the two of them leave and get into a red truck.
What kind of car do you have?
I drive an Audi station wagon.
What color?
Gray.
After you backed out and were trying to leave, were you able to exit the parking lot?
No, I was not. I backed out and I was driving towards the exit, and as I got there, this truck that they got into, was a red truck of some sort, came speeding across the parking lot and almost smacked into my car. And I was kind of thrown off by it, and then everything escalated.
Okay, let's talk about this escalation a little bit. What happened after the red truck blocked you in?
After the red truck blocked me in, they got out the car, and that just made things worse. It made it physically impossible for me to leave. JT Sanborn and William James, I saw both of them get out of their vehicle and come around mine, heading towards my driver's side.
And let's talk where Mr. James ended up. Where did he end up stopping?
James ended up coming to the driver's side door and stopping there.
What about Mr. Sanborn? Where did he end up?
Sanborn, at this moment, ended up in front of my car, which was what really blocked me in and kept me from leaving. I'd have to run over him to get out of the parking lot at this point.
Were they yelling anything at you at this time?
Yeah, both of them were yelling a lot of different stuff. I don't remember anything exactly specific that Sanborn said. James was a little louder and a little more upset. He kept yelling military things at me, grab a gun, stand the post, you live under the blanket of freedom I provide for you.
Hearsay.
Excited utterance, Your Honor.
Any response?
Your Honor, they haven't laid the proper foundation for an excited utterance. Just the fact that he was excited at the time is not enough to establish excited utterance. They don't have an event that made him make these specific statements, and they haven't laid any foundation to establish that exception.
Your Honor, the witnesses clearly testified that a car came zooming up, stopped him in, they jumped out of the car, they ran up to her window, and this is when he started yelling these. I don't know what other type of event or what other type of excitement a counselor needs.
They laid the foundation that this is an event that startled her, that they went towards them, wouldn't startle them to make that they drove towards her, wouldn't startle them to make this statement.
Overruled.
Pete, tell us again what it was that Mr. James was yelling at you.
I remember specifically because it was such an odd thing to say to someone, even if you're being a big bully. He told me to grab a gun and stand the post. He told me, something along the lines to be thankful that I sleep under the blanket of freedom that he provided for me. It was all very bizarre.
After all of this yelling, what happened?
As they were yelling, James kept standing by my driver's side, and he opened the door a little, but at the same time, JT Sanborn had moved from the front of the car to the passenger side. He'd opened that door and was trying to get into the car and get to me, it felt like.
So then what did you do?
Well, at this point, James had opened the door, and I saw the other guy coming for me, but James was on the other side. I thought, maybe if I get out, I can run back to the 7-Eleven, I can get away. I was just terrified. All I could think to do was just bolt, get out of the car and get away.
Were you able to get all the way out of the car?
No, I got one leg out the door, and that's when James started smashing my leg in between the car door and the car.
How did that feel?
It hurt. It was unbelievably painful. I've never really felt anything like that before. I thought he was going to break my leg.
So what did you do?
I kept telling him, "You're hurting me, stop, what are you doing, stop, you're hurting me," repeatedly. And he wouldn't listen.
So what did you do next?
Well, he kept slamming the car door on my leg, and the only thing I could think to do was, I have this mag light that my dad gave me and told me to keep in the car. I keep it on the driver's side of the car. So I reached down to the floorboard and grabbed the mag light. I thought maybe if I could just, get anywhere close to James, it would make him stop.
What did you do with it?
I took the flashlight and I had to reach over the car door, and I hit James in the head with the flashlight.
How many times did you hit him in the head with the flashlight?
Just once.
What happened? What did you do with the flashlight after you swung it just once at Mr. James?
To be honest, I don't really know what happened to it, because pretty much right after I hit him with the flashlight, I just remember I did notice that he was bleeding. I was shocked. I didn't expect that to happen. And then that's when we both he gave way on the door, and I started to get out, and he pulled me down to the ground. I must have dropped the flashlight.
What happened once you were down on the ground?
When I was down on the ground, it was nothing but me and him. I had nothing else. I didn't have a flashlight. I didn't have a car door to protect me. Nothing. It was just the two of us.
How did that fight ultimately end?
I was trying to get him off of me, even at this point, I was trying to stop it and just get away. But the police showed up. A police officer came and broke up the fight.
I want to talk to you a little bit about this police officer. How did she act towards you?
She was just very indifferent towards me, just automatically dismissive.
Were you able to give her any full statements that night?
No.
Did she ever ask you about any of your injuries?
No, she didn't.
Tell us about your injuries. What happened to you?
Well, like I said, when I first tried to get out of the car to get away from JT and Mr. James, it kept getting smashed. James kept smashing the car door against my leg, and I thought it was going to break. The next day, I noticed that there was awful bruising on it, and I had a little bit of trouble walking on it for about a week.
Did you take any photos of those injuries?
Yes, I did. I took photographs.
If I were to show you one today, would you recognize it?
Definitely.
Your Honor, I'm showing opposing counsel what's been pre-marked as Exhibit 6. May I approach the witness?
You may.
Mr. Mitchell, I'm handing you what's been pre-marked as Exhibit 6. Do you recognize this?
Yes, I do.
And what is that?
This is the photograph of my leg that I took the next day.
And is that a fair and accurate depiction of the way that your leg looked the next day after this altercation?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, this time the defense seeks to enter Exhibit 6 into evidence.
Any objection to Defense Exhibit 6 coming into evidence?
We would object on 403 grounds, similar to the defense's objection to our photographs of the injuries.
In response?
Your Honor, this photo is in black and white. It's not bloody. It's not gruesome. In fact, you can barely just see discoloration and shading on the leg. That goes to show the injuries that happened that night. Your Honor, they are not as gruesome, and they are not. This is not being entered to inflame the passions of the jury in any way.
Anything else?
Your Honor, they do depict the injury. They don't have a timestamp. There are many things that make this prejudicial. The witness just explained her injuries, and that can suffice to probatively tell the jury what happened.
I think you can cross-examine on that. I'll overrule that objection.
Permission to publish, Your Honor.
You may.
Pete, go ahead and show the jury your leg from that night. And if you could explain to us what it is we're looking at.
This is the bruise. You can tell it's straight across, just like a car door hitting the leg.
Pete, the little bit that you were able to talk to the officer, did you talk to him about the flashlight that night?
Actually, the police officer asked me about the flashlight.
What did you tell him?
I told him I didn't know anything about a flashlight and I didn't own one.
Was that true?
No, it wasn't. In the moment, I got a little scared because the police officer was paying so much attention to James, and he did have a lot of blood on him. I didn't expect that. And I just thought, well, if he knew I'd use the flashlight instead of just fighting him off, it would make things worse for me.
Whose idea was it to tell the officers or to later report that you had in fact used the flashlight? Was that your idea?
It was mine.
And what about driving that night? Did you talk to the officer about driving?
Yeah, I talked to the police officer, and same thing. I don't have a license. I've gotten a lot of speeding tickets, and my license has been suspended. And I hadn't, gotten my license back yet. So I knew that if he knew I had been driving without a license, that wouldn't end well for me either.
Did you correct that lie?
Yes, I did. I came forward. I told the truth. All the things that are going against me, I felt like I needed to own up to it.
Did anyone force you to correct those lies that you had made, or was that all your decision?
No, that was all my decision.
Did you ever call anyone to come help you out at the 7-Eleven?
I tried. I grabbed my phone when I noticed both guys coming at me, JT Sanborn and William James, but I didn't get an answer.
What about, did you call anyone to come to the 7-Eleven to make any statements to the police?
No, I didn't. I'd never got in touch with anyone. Like I said, I'd gone out with my friends that night. They were all either, I guess, still downtown or home asleep. No one answered.
Pete, when you were trying to get out of the car and your legs were being slammed in the door, what did you think was the only thing you could do?
The only thing I could do was finally just stand up for myself. I'd put up with it, and then it wasn't just putting up with bullying at this point. It was trying to save my legs. I felt like if he kept smashing them in the car door, he was going to break them. The only thing I could do was try and just get him to back off enough. I had to grab the flashlight and hit him.
Could you continue to do what you do for a living if you had broken legs?
No, I couldn't. It would be impossible.
Your Honor, may I have a moment to confer with co-counsel?
You may.
Your Honor, I have no further questions for Mr. Mitchell.
Any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Permission to retrieve Exhibit 6 from evidence?
Yes.
Now, you stated that your legs were injured, right?
Yes, they were.
And this is the photograph of your injury, right?
Yes, that's a photograph of my injury.
It's a bruise, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty bad bruise.
But it's just a bruise.
It's just a bruise, yes.
And there's no timestamp on this injury, is there?
No, I don't have a camera like that.
But there is no timestamp on here.
No.
Now, you didn't go to the hospital that night, did you?
No, I didn't, because the police officer was being really rude and indecisive, and frankly, after all that,
Well, that rude and indecisiveness, you would have included that in your statement, right?
Excuse me?
The fact that an officer was rude to you, indecisive, that's something you would include in your statement, right?
My statement to another police officer? I don't think so.
Your statement about the investigation of this case, that was important, right?
Yeah, it's pretty important. This whole thing's important. I was assaulted.
And so, explaining why you left out a lot of information to the investigator, that would be important to include in your statement, right?
I didn't just leave out information. I gave everything that I felt was important and everything I needed to say.
And so you told the officer everything that was important,
I told him everything that at the time I gave the statement I thought was important, I said.
but you
Yes.
never told the officer at the scene that your legs were injured.
I wanted to tell him, but he just kept like going on with the questions. He didn't want to hear it.
And you never included that in your statement.
I never included that in my statement, no.
And you never told the officer that your legs were slammed repeatedly in that door.
Man, whether I told the officer or not doesn't make it any less true. It happened. It hurt. I was scared for my life. You don't know what it's like to have two big men come to you all by yourself, yelling these military things to you that sound bizarre and out of this world. It was a terrifying experience, and having my legs slammed in the door like that only made it worse.
And they were slammed hard, as you mentioned,
Yes, they were
but
slammed
not hard enough to ever seek any medical attention about them.
I didn't have the opportunity.
You have never, since that incident, had an opportunity to go to a doctor?
The next day, I realized that they weren't broken, that I could keep going. But in the moment, man, it was terrifying. I thought he was going to break my legs, and I thought if I didn't get away, they'd kill me.
So you never sought medical attention.
The next day, I didn't have to. The next day, I knew I was fine, but in the moment, it was awful.
But you're actually an adrenaline junkie, right?
Being an adrenaline junkie and liking to do tricks and stuff is different than having two men attack you, scream at you, yell these military things at you that you don't understand.
You're an adrenaline junkie, right?
I said I'm an adrenaline junkie, but I also said it's not the same thing.
And you like to speed your car fast.
I've gotten speeding tickets, but it's not speeding fast. I was only going like 10 miles an hour over the speed limit.
But you actually enjoy going fast, right?
Sure, on roller coasters and stuff.
And you enjoy heights, right?
I mean, I guess.
You enjoy big challenges.
I enjoy athletic challenges.
Because you like the
sometimes.
rush, right?
Sort of, I guess.
And you claim that on October 2nd, Willie intimidated you, right?
He intimidated me, yes. From the moment I saw him in the 7-Eleven, when he approached me and tried to call me out for something I didn't do, he was bullying me.
And you
Pushing
felt
me.
really scared, right?
I was pretty scared at that moment, yeah. He was this jack guy with a tattoo and a buddy. I was outnumbered.
So you told this man that scared you to clean that mess up himself.
I told him I didn't make the mess. It wasn't my job. And I said if he wanted it cleaned up, he could. I said it just like that.
So a man that intimidated you, you told him to clean it up himself.
Yes, because when there's someone intimidating you, you don't let them know you're afraid. You try not to do that to the best that you could.
And you also claim that JT Sanborn tried to enter your vehicle, right?
Yeah, JT Sanborn was arms in my vehicle coming at me.
And you explained JT's position in your statement, right?
I don't remember if that's in my statement.
Well, you included that he was in front of your vehicle, right?
Yeah, he went to the front of the vehicle and then he came around to the side when James was yelling the things about grabbing a gun and standing the post.
And so you would have mentioned that he tried to come in your vehicle, right?
I don't know if I mentioned it in my statement, but you know, the police officer got up here and pointed that out earlier, that the lights and all the car doors were open. That shows what you're asking about, that the other car door was open too.
Actually, you never once mentioned in your statement that he tried to get in your vehicle, did you?
Ma'am, I don't know if it's in my statement. You keep asking me. I don't know. All I know is that that's what happened.
I'm showing opposing counsel the witness's statement. Permission to approach the witness in the
You
same
may.
document. Well, Mr. Mitchell, this is your entire statement, page 1, 2, 3, and 4, right?
Yeah.
That's your signature on the last page.
Mhm.
And in this statement, you included where JT Sanborn was, right?
Sure.
But you never once in this
Objection.
entire
Your Honor, this is an improper impeachment. The witness clearly stated that she doesn't know the question or recollection would be appropriate here, giving her an opportunity to review her statement to see if she put it in there instead of impeaching her.
Allow her to review her statement and then
Yes,
you
sir.
may proceed.
In my statement, I was focused more on what had happened between me and James. That's what the investigator had asked about. I don't see in here where I had put that that's what happened with Sanborn. Here I have, that Sanborn and James both jumped out of the truck and came running up to the driver's side door. James went around the back of my car and up to the driver's side. Sanborn came around the front of the car, so I couldn't leave without hitting him. And then I go into the things with James because that's what the investigator wanted me to talk about in the moment. That's why the stuff about Sanborn isn't in my statement.
Well, this isn't a question and answer interview. This is your whole statement, and you signed that this was a complete record of all of the events that took place on October 2nd, 2014.
It's
You
not
signed
a
that
question
one.
and answer. You don't see the questions. That's the unfortunate part of this. The questions aren't here, but they were asked of me. This is everything about what they asked about. Yes, that's why I signed it.
And, ma'am, Mr. Mitchell, you said that this is a complete record of all of the events that took place that day.
Complete record of all of the events that took place that day as they asked me about. Yes.
But you didn't include that part on there as you asked.
I just stated no, but that's what happened. I had two men come up to my car without any provocation, nothing on my part, and attack me.
Permission to
Two
approach
grown
and retrieve.
men.
You may, yes.
I'd like to talk a little bit about what happened in that parking lot. You claimed that this vehicle was coming up behind you, right?
Flying across the parking
About
lot.
to hit you, right?
Almost slammed into my car, yes.
But there was nothing in front of you as the car was coming towards you.
No, I was stopped. I had come across, I was stopped because you saw the map earlier. I wanted to turn and then go to the street and leave. I was already stopped when he almost slammed into my car.
So you decided to just stay stopped as this car was coming towards you.
I was shocked. What did you want me to do?
And then as Willie and his friend got out of the car, you were still stopped, right?
Yes.
And you were scared, right?
Yes, I was in shock.
But you weren't scared enough to lock your door, right?
Excuse me?
You didn't lock your door, right?
Why would I think in the moment to lock the door? Most cars automatically lock these days. I thought it already locked. I guess I didn't drive fast enough for that to happen.
So you didn't lock the door.
No, I thought they were already locked.
Now, you were mad when Willie came up to your window, right?
Yeah, I was a little mad. Yeah, I was being bullied profusely for doing nothing.
Because you had walked away from the fight once, right?
Yeah, I walked away.
But you weren't going to do that again, were you?
Excuse me?
Actually, in your statement, you said you walked away from a fight once, but you weren't going to do that again.
I couldn't. I wasn't going to do it, and I couldn't because two men came up to my car and bullied me out of it.
So
I was
instead,
afraid
you
for
grabbed
my
your
life.
phone, right? You grabbed your phone, right?
Yes?
And you grabbed your phone to call friends for backup, right?
I called friends to come help me, not backup, to come save me.
You didn't call the police to save you, right?
I called a friend. I had been driving that night without a license. Why would I call the police? I didn't want to get in trouble. I already
And
told you that. I don't
when-
want to be involved with the police.
And when he came up to your door, Willie,
Yes.
you stood up, right?
No, I didn't stand up when he came to the car door.
Do you remember giving a statement?
He came to the car door. He yelled things at me. There were all this military jargon that was bizarre and scary. He opened the door, and then when I saw Sanborn coming after me, that's when I got up.
So you would have included, but you don't remember saying in your statement that when he opened the door, you stood up.
I just said exactly what you're asking.
Oh, so when he came to the door, you did stand up.
When he came to the door and opened it, yes.
And when you stood up, you grabbed the flashlight, right?
When I stood up, I told him, stop, you're hurting me, because this is when,
And
He
you grabbed the
began-
flashlight, right?
man, he began slamming my legs between the car. Have you ever been in a moment like that when you felt scared for your life?
The witness has gone through a narrative, and I asked that she just answer the questions that I'm asking. I asked if she grabbed the flashlight, and she's been unresponsive.
Certainly, please answer the questions that are asked of you, and then if you need to respond with a explanation, you are welcome to.
You grabbed a flashlight that night, right?
I grabbed the flashlight after he slammed my legs in between the car door repeatedly, and I felt like there was nothing left for me to do.
And you took that flashlight and you hit him in the head, right?
I hit him because there was nothing left for me to do.
But you did hit him in the head with a large metal flashlight.
I hit him with the flashlight because he was coming after me and there was nothing left to do. Yes.
And When you hit him with that flashlight, blood started to pour down his head, right?
Yeah, I said it earlier. I was shocked. I did not expect that. I didn't want to hurt him. I did not want to hurt him. I just didn't want
But
him to
you
hurt
caused blood to pour down his head.
me. Yes, on accident. I didn't mean for that to happen. I meant to hit him.
And then you
lied.
wrestled with him, didn't you?
Man, he wrestled with me. He pulled me to the ground.
And
I didn't
you
ask
had
for any of this.
blood on your shoes.
I had blood on my shoes. I had
You
blood
had
on my
his blood
sweatshirt.
on your
I had
hands.
blood on my hands. Yes, there was a lot of blood. It was very unexpected, but it was there.
And it was his blood that was on your hands that night.
Man, it was very unexpected. Yes, it was his blood. There may have been some of mine. I don't think I had any scrapes like that. There was blood on my leg, but that was it.
But actually, the only injury to your leg was a bruise.
There was a scrape, but when you look in that picture, it's fine. I've cleaned everything up by then.
And then you know that he had multiple wounds to his head, right?
He had multiple wounds because he pulled me to the ground, and
But
he was rolling all
actually, you
over the
understand
place.
that these were multiple blows to the head, right?
He must have gotten those from thrashing all over the place. I mean,
But
he
you
was
understand
losing it.
that he had multiple blows to the head, yes?
Yes,
Yet you claim you only hit him once.
I know I only hit him once. I did what I had to do, and
And
nothing
although
more.
you know you only hit him once, you told the officer that you hit him multiple times.
I told the officer I hit him multiple times with my hands and my elbows. I told you I lied to the cop because I was scared, but I have owned up to everything, even the things that hurt me.
So you thought it would be helpful to tell an officer you hit him multiple times even though you hit him once?
I didn't say that I thought it would be helpful. I said what I told the officer in a moment when I was scared and I didn't know what to say.
Well, you lied to the officer about driving that night, right?
We've already established that, yes. I told the officer about driving and about the flashlight. I was scared. I didn't know what else to do.
So the lie about driving that night, that wasn't the only lie you told.
Yes.
You also lied about the flashlight.
Yes, but I've owned up to all of those things. I am very sorry for what I said and what I lied about, but I was scared. I was still scared.
Your Honor, I'm retrieving Exhibit 1 from evidence. Permission to approach the witness with that same document?
Yes.
Now, this is the mag light that you used to hit Willie James in the head, isn't it?
No, it's not.
So, this isn't the mag light that you used?
Mine's bright red, actually.
Okay, so you understand that a mag light was found right next to your car?
Yes, but this isn't the one they found. The police officer found a red flashlight. I remember seeing him pick it up.
And it was a large mag light, though.
It was red. It wasn't this one.
And you used that to strike him in the head.
Yeah, I hit him once in the head because he was smashing my leg in between the door while his buddy was trying to come after me through the
And
passenger
you lied
side.
about even owning that flashlight, right?
Ma'am, I told you, I'm sorry. I mean, I don't know what more you want me to say. I'm just so sorry about the lies that I told them. What I'm saying today is the truth.
So you did tell multiple lies.
Yes, in the moment when I was terrified,
And you
I'm
told
sorry.
lies because you were scared, right?
I was scared and I'm sorry. I don't
You
know
were
what else you
scared
want
of
me to
getting
say.
into trouble, right?
I was scared. Yes,
And today
a
you
lot
sit
of
here
things.
on trial for first-degree assault, right?
Yes.
And that's pretty scary, isn't it?
Yes, it's
Thank
scary,
you.
but
I have no
I've
further
owned up
questions.
to everything I said, ma'am.
Permission to
Everything
retrieve
I have
evidence.
said.
Yes. Any redirect?
Very briefly, Your Honor, Pete, opposing counsel asked you about your statement that you gave to the police. Officer McNulty never asked you to come into the police station to give a full statement, did he?
No.
In fact, the statement that you were shown, who was that statement given to?
That statement was given to a private investigator.
Who hired that private investigator?
I did? Yeah, I did.
No further questions, Your